Hey y'all, welcome to the Takeoff. My name is Max Henry. I'm your host, and today we have Marcio Filipe. And for those of you who don't know, Marcio is an amazing parkour athlete out of Porto in Portugal. He has done maybe all of the gnarliest technical parkour sticks in the game at this point. He's the type of athlete that to me is at the pinnacle of what technical parkour can be. And about 2.5 years ago, he had maybe the gnarliest fall that I have ever seen in parkour. It is featured in the We Are Storer film, which is not out yet, but which I got to see at the premiere South by Southwest last year. And that's also when I got to meet Marcio and talk to him a little bit about his journey. So, as somebody who was at the top of the game in sort of these consequential parkour challenges and then suffered essentially what we all are afraid of happening or seeing happen to somebody, I was really curious to hear his perspective on how that has impacted his training. You know, if he felt like the journey that he's been on has been worth it, and where his recovery is at right now. And he's been really open on his social media and on his YouTube about how his recovery has been going. I've really appreciated that. So we dive into both the circumstances around his accident, how he got there in the first place, and how he kind of developed such a high level of practice. And then at the end, we circle back and talk about, what his takeaways were, and, if he felt like training at height all of those years was worth the potential risk of a fall like the one that he has been dealing with. And I think it's a really enlightening episode. Marcio is incredibly thoughtful and well spoken, and I hope you enjoy it as much as I did. Let's dive in. Marcio Felipe, thank you for coming
Yeah,
on to the Takeoff. I appreciate
thank
having
you.
you on,
Thank
man.
you. Thank you for the invitation as
Yeah,
well. I'm excited for this.
well, you've been doing so many things. I guess we'll start off by addressing the fact that the last couple of weeks you've been all over Instagram answering tons and tons of questions from people, from how you're doing right now with your training, all the way to the recovery from the fall that you had, which was that 3? Has it been 2 years
Two and a
since
half years,
your
yeah.
injury?
Yeah, pretty
Two and a
much.
half years. And we'll get into that, but I wanted to start with a question. So on these multiple Instagram Q&As, what is the dumbest question that somebody has asked you so far? Not naming names, but have you gotten any really
Yeah.
like wild
No, I,
questions from people?
I don't. To be honest, I don't think so. Actually, like, I think pretty much all the questions were very like interesting, and that's exactly what I wanted to know what actually people wanted to get like a better idea of what happened and like what I was doing at the time because as I said like before I can't show what I was doing. I mean I explained it but I can't show the clip yet. Um but people
Mm-hmm.
will see like on the story documentary and and yeah like I think all the questions were like very interesting and people was actually very like curious to know and understand like how I've been doing lately, what's been like the process, what I need to do now as well to be like fully recovered because unfortunately I'm not, but I'm working towards it and hopefully this year will be the year. I hope. I'm hopeful. So
Yeah. I just saw your post that you made yesterday that you're gonna have to get another surgery, which you said you'd been anticipating. But what is this next surgery? Is it just kind of continuing to clean up all of the scar tissue and everything from what's
yeah,
been going on in there?
so basically, like what because I got an appointment with a different surgeon just to get like a different opinion from another specialist, and this guy is also very good. I mean, the other surgeon as well like did a great job, but apparently we have a lot more problems than we were thinking, and we couldn't see like on the previous exams. So I did like an X-ray, TAC scan, and also like a MRI now, so it will get like everything that we needed to be sure that
Mm-hmm.
what was going inside like my ankle. And yeah, as I explained like on my stories, I still have very lack of articulation and cartilage between like my bones, like my tibial bone and also like my foot. And also we have some other stuff inside. I don't remember exactly what because I have a lot of stuff happening. But yeah, I still have fibrosis, a lot of fibrosis. But the lack of cartilage at the moment is actually what's blocking my range of motion because like its bones crashing into each other
Mm,
and like it doesn't allow me to move. Also because of that, my Achilles tendon also got shortened up because I don't work it. So like it just got shorter. And also they need to do something with it.
hmm
And I need to get like two screws inside my ankle apparently. And also like to get some implementation, I think like of like an articulation. Uh, but yeah, like I was asking about recovery and stuff, and it told me that should be around 2, 3 months, which is not bad. And also like after what I've been through, like 2 and 3 months, it's totally fine. It's just going for another
Yeah.
surgery, but
I
I know that I yeah, yes, go on, sorry.
No, I was gonna say I'm sure your perspective on a surgery recovery right now is very different than most people's after essentially being in recovery through stages for the
Yeah,
last 2.5 years. So when you say 2 or 3 months, I'm like, oh my God, that sounds so gnarly. But
yeah,
compared to a year, yeah,
yeah, exactly.
yeah,
That's the thing.
that's
That's the
crazy.
thing.
Well, yeah, that's wild. Well, I'm glad that you've gotten another opinion, and it has been amazing to see where you're at. Even just recently, you were posting some really good clips in the fall and the winter, and it was really cool to see you going back outside. Obviously, you shared the video of you going back to the dam, which I think is what sparked a lot of conversations and people asking you these questions. Anybody who wants to see the clip, by the way, because I did get to see it at the premiere in We Are Store, I don't recommend it.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
I
it's gnarly.
it
It's gnarly.
was it's like I understand that people have a facet. I think this is something that I'm curious your perspective on because in parkour, I think we often can tell ourselves like these stories that we can control everything,
Hmm.
and like if you're trained enough that you can control every little variable. And so when
Yeah,
something does go wrong, I think there's a natural fascination that parkour athletes have with like, well, I want to see the clip because I want to see what I could have done differently or what this person did to save themselves or,
yeah.
how the fall happened. Would you say that before your injury and your fall at the dam, because you have done for the listener who maybe isn't familiar, which I don't think anybody who's listening to this won't know who you are because you're a goat of precision parkour. Like
Thank
in
you.
my
I
opinion,
appreciate it.
you are the best precision parkour athlete in the
Thank you.
history of our sport, like full stop. And so it's
Thank you.
awesome to be having this conversation. And so would you say like before you had this experience, did you go into challenges feeling like you really were fully in control? And do you still feel like that now? Or do you feel like there are maybe elements that are always going to be a little bit out of our control? Like, how has your perspective changed?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, yeah, first of all, thank you for the words. Obviously, not saying this because of the podcast. We've been talking about this before when we met as well. Like, but also I think like your style as well shaped me a bit. Like you and Calm mostly, because I've always followed up you guys. Um, so it's also like you guys are still a big inspiration. Um, so thank you for that as well. I mean, about yeah, it's definitely a good question. I think it's not that I don't or I never felt that I was not in control, but obviously I knew that was risks, and there will always be risks, no matter like the consequence about what we're doing. Risks are always obviously still there, and will always be. Like obviously, maybe the risks are lower, like if it's on ground level or like 1 or 2 meters. Um, and obviously like when there's big consequences the risk is higher, but there's always risk. But I don't know, like I've always felt that I've been always in control because I've been super cautious with my training over like the years. I've always been like scaling up maybe the consequences of what I was doing, but like very gradually. It's not like standing stuff or something. um but yeah, I've always felt that I was in control, but I knew the risks. And in this case specifically, as I said before, like I was like we working with Store like on their project, and my head was not there. Like I mean, was there, but not like in a training mood because I was taking care of a lot of stuff at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And on that day, I just went like again, like because I've been training for so many years, I went like on autopilot and I saw a jump that got my attention. Uh, and I knew like the variables were not that good, like the run up, the lamppost on the takeoff, like not being able to overshoot. I mean, I could overshoot to the platform, but still, like I was not like fully thinking about it or like fully cautious, you know. Um, and yeah, like the moment that
Hmm.
I jumped, I understood straight away that I was gonna overshoot. And yeah, like by that time, like my instinct was just to grab myself like in the kettle position on the other side. But because I came with too much force, like I slipped backwards and I was like falling backwards. So like I tried to rotate myself in the air so I could spot the ground. And because I was still rotating, like I just landed with one leg. And like that's the reason like my knee hit like the corner of the stair,
Hmm.
got like the exposed fracture, and also like I my hands like like elbows, forearms, everything like hit. Luckily, like I didn't hit my head, just like in the forehead, but nothing serious, fortunately.
Hmm.
But yeah, it was like after the fall, like I remember like because I was conscious the whole time, so I remember like after the fall, I hit the stairs and I rolled backwards twice or something, and like I don't know how, but I remember like stopping rotating at the last stair, the last step, like just in a seated position. And I remember like my eyes almost closing down, and I saw a lot of blood coming out, and I literally thought that I was gonna die in that moment. But yeah, fortunately, like nothing more serious happened, and they came to help and said like I was okay, like it was just like an open cut like on my forehead. And yeah, like
Hmm.
obviously I was scared mostly after not feeling my leg like 2 minutes after, because at the moment I was like still in shock. But then 2 or 3 minutes after I looked at my leg because I couldn't feel it, and I saw like the knee like cutting off kind of. Um, and I remember like almost start like I kind of started crying because I didn't know if I was gonna be able to walk anymore, much less like train parkour, and that was like my biggest concern at the time. Um, and obviously after the fall, like mentally was like very hard to overcome stuff because like parkour has always been in my life, and like I think at that time I was very into it. Like it was just my my whole identity was related to parkour, and I think that's the worst thing um, to deal with is like with an injury like this when you're so dependent on something. And I don't think it was like I'm not like regretting the way that I took parkour, obviously, but is I think when you're so dependent on something can be dangerous, and that's also one of the reasons
Hmm.
that mentally like it took me a lot. But yeah, I think I learned a lot about it, and also like I learned a lot and grew up a lot with this injury. So I'm kind of happy that I got to take some positive stuff about this.
That's the most parkour takeaway ever is the finding the silver lining in that. I mean, your knee, there's a shot in the film. I mean, it's like graphic, which I was not prepared for. I
Yeah,
didn't
yeah,
think that it was going to be fully showing your landing. First of all, let me say, if I had taken that fall, I would have been a friggin' watermelon on the ground. Like
yeah,
it's insane how strong and like you were able to get your body in a position to actually absorb impact. Your knee left a dent in a concrete stair, which is
yeah. I
like
don't I don't know
I
how either.
can't even. Yeah, there's a shot, and I'm like, that's from your knee impacting the ground. Like, yeah, it's wild, and I don't want to kind of relive this
Yeah,
too much, and I appreciate you breaking it down because I do think that like for me, I have had, and I'll just be fully honest, like I've had nightmares not about myself falling, but about watching somebody else do it. And I think
yeah,
what to me was like the hardest thing to watch in that sequence is Toby's reaction, where I don't remember. I think he was not filming, but he was right next to
no,
you,
no,
and you're just kind of like rehearse that, and especially as somebody who now like films a lot of high level parkour, um that's like the scariest thing is when you're not the one who's making the decision, you're just trusting
yeah,
your friend or whoever it is, and like those little things can happen. Your point of how you've scaled your training up. And I do want to kind of talk about your early parkour days because I think that that's so fundamental to how you got to the level that you are at. But I watched like your 2021 video, and I think that's the one that has the speed step, the IMAX speed step,
Yeah,
right?
it's the
Was that
2022. Yeah,
2021 or
yeah, yeah.
2020 or 2022? Like 2021 and 2022, I remember seeing like there's such a clear progression of like here's this really disgusting Kong precision, but maybe it's a little bit closer, or there's a few more bailouts to all the way up to IMAX speed step. I mean, the one that you did in Santorini is one of my all-time favorites. The drop
Thank you.
Kong precision stick that you did with that undershoot. Because I remember looking at that one years ago and thinking, oh, this is possible, but oh my
Yeah.
gosh, this is going to be hard to commit to. And I think that like it's so logical how you've
Hmm.
progressed, and
Thank you.
it's also so human. I think we've all experienced situations where you're an autopilot or you're a little bit tired or, whatever it is, and you have something and maybe something bad almost happens or something happens, but you're like, that could have been much worse. And I want to say I really appreciate how you have been sharing this experience because I think that we all have this kind of like you have to have a mental armor in parkour. Like, and to a certain extent, you need to kind of be able to convince yourself when
Hmm.
you're doing something that's high risk that the consequences don't exist in that moment, and you need to be able to go into it and kind of say like I've fully accepted all of these consequences.
Yeah.
I'm not even going to think about them anymore. I'm just going to think about executing. But it's also really easy, and I think we're seeing that with some internet culture and send culture, to get so comfortable in that headspace that you're never actually even evaluating the consequences in the first place.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's very fortunate that we have somebody who is incredibly skilled. That you have been able to recover to an amazing degree from your injury, and that you've been so open and vocal about it, and you haven't, felt the need to kind of like hide this experience, but you've shared it
Yeah.
with the community. Because anybody who
Thank you.
does parkour, and again, to hype you up, like I look at you and I look at this and it's like, okay, if this can happen to somebody at your level, it can happen to anybody. And we should know that it always can happen to anybody. We're all human. Everybody gets distracted or makes mistakes or
Yeah.
even just, you know, like, yeah, has decision making that you're like, that was maybe 90% of my best decision, not
Yeah. Yeah.
100%. Um, so I appreciate that, especially in the context of kind of where I see some other parts of the community going right now.
Mhm.
But let's take a step back and rewind to, as you were saying, like you are a very controlled athlete. I really appreciate you talking about Callum. Callum was also Callum and Phil for me when I started. Were like
Yeah.
the two people that I looked up to the most and modeled my
Yeah.
training
Same.
off of. What what got you into parkour? Like, let's wait. How did you end up being a nerdy technical parkour athlete like me?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. That's again like another really good question. I think like again like I didn't start the parkour like with any expectation at all. Like I never been that much into sports before because also I was kind of young when I started. I was 12. I remember like a friend of mine, a very close friend back then, just came to my house and he just showed me like a parkour video and it was like, oh, just look what I found in school. And we just saw like the like I think was I think one of the I'm not sure if it was the first one, but I think one of the first videos was like Daniel Labaca in 27. And but I think the first one was like David Bell, obviously
Ooh.
like the main one, um,
Mm-hmm.
the main video from him. And like we just went to the streets and we just tried like to imitate what we saw like in the videos because also back then like parkour was very like a recent thing, and mostly like YouTube as well. Like YouTube, there wasn't that many videos, so we were like just trying to imitate what we saw. And I remember like watching also like the 102 volts video. So we thought like parkour was just about
Mm-hmm.
like doing big drops and doing collecting all the volts as well, like as like tags. So yeah, like
It was
that's
a
how
Pokemon
I
kind of
started.
aesthetic, yeah.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So we just started like pretty much doing that. And I think that's also like unconsciously, that's why I started to focus on drops, and maybe like my style shaped into that way. Um, because yeah, I just thought was like jumping from the highest places possible, and and yeah, like my knees got stronger because like my body over the years adapt to that type of movement as well. It's also the same talking about this now. I don't remember. I don't know if you remember, like a few years ago, Callum posting like different precision landings from different athletes. I think you, Andy's, me,
Hmm.
Cosmin, him as well. And again, like you have so many different positions to land. Like some people like land pretty straight. Some other people like flex a lot on their ankles. Some others like me, myself, curve a lot, like the lower back. And usually, like normal people
Hmm.
will say like, "Oh, you're gonna have like problems on your knees, or you're gonna have problems on your lower back, etc." And the reality is that, like me personally, at least, like it's been 18 years, and even after like my big accident, my knee is still fine. I don't have any problems on my knee now. Like I don't even remember that I had the fall on my knee. If it wasn't for the ankle, I wouldn't even remember like that I had like a knee that was cut in half and totally open. And that just goes to show that
Yeah.
our body adapts to what we do, and also like how we approach the stuff we do, like very progressively, and also like how we strengthen them as well. And it just goes to show to people that think parkour like is throwing ourselves or like jumping on walls only, and it's like there's a lot more, and we take it like in a, I won't say like a professional way, but we take it like in a very mature and rational way of things. And again, like it just goes to show to people that the sports can teach you a lot more than just how to jump, you know.
Yeah. What were some of your favorite videos when you were starting out, other than the original David Bell and the Daniel Labaka? If you're talking about the 2007 extended show reel,
Yeah,
for the
yeah,
listener who's not listened to that or not watched that video, just so good. I mean, I remember a few clips, like he does this like tack reverse fault in Brazil up like a 6 foot or 8 foot tower,
yeah,
and
yeah,
then does this beautiful devil drop where he takes like a 3 meter drop on an inward front, and just everything is perfect. Like the
yeah,
nicest side full, just even some like big Kong drops. And yeah, I watched that video probably 100 times when I was 14.
yeah. Same, same.
But did you
I
have
think
do you remember any really favorite videos?
yeah. Back that I mean back then, like I remember watching a lot from the Glyph Media account. It's like pretty old school, the Urban Free Flow. Um, but I like I think the ones that touched me the most and also like shaped me a lot back then was like the GOP videos that I found out like in 2010 because of Max Runham. Because I remember like if he
Hmm.
shared one of their videos in on Facebook, and I didn't knew about them before. I remember them getting them like the first time I watched it, I got so like into them, and I start like I remember like doing marathons, watching all their videos like in the same day, once a year or something. Like I was very like I was a very big fan of them. Also, I remember like Sergio from GP. He told me that I was like the Gooppedia because I knew stuff that they didn't even remember about. I was like very nerdy about them, yeah. And yeah, I think that shaped me a lot as well, like getting more technical as well. Also, as I said, like I started watching you, I think since 2010 as well, and Callum as well. Like I think pretty much 2010 was like the year that I got more into parkour, and that's when more parkour videos started coming up more often, and the sport started like I think it progressed a lot throughout those years, like 2010 to 2013. I think that was kind of the best era, to be honest.
Hmm.
There was like
Yeah.
a lot going on in the community, and there was like a lot of very interesting videos about like community, travel, friendship, all that stuff. Um, which there still is nowadays, but it's not as like I don't know. I don't feel them so deeply as I used to. Um, but yeah,
Hmm.
it's I think those years shaped me a lot into what I am now and like my style of training. And yeah, like I GOP as well. Like I
I'm
was
amazed you don't do more reverse vaults.
yeah. I mean I tried to train them, but Fosky taught me how to do like the flow vault, like the more in a flowy way, to continuous, like in a line. But like the ones that they go like as a side flip, I
Yeah.
don't get them. But yeah, I trained with them a lot
Yeah.
because when I found out about them in 2010, I just found out that most of them were from Vigo, and Vigo for me is like an hour and a half max by car. So I started going there. I started to get like
Wow.
more connection with them, and I got really close with them. And I was so happy to see like people that I used to be like a fan of, and now I can call them friends. It's just such like a nice full circle thing, you know?
Yeah, that's one of the best things about parkour is always seeing your friends succeed,
Yeah,
which was amazing at we using We Are Store again as an example. Getting to see people that you're like, I remember when you were so poor, you were stealing energy bars to eat for lunch, and now
yeah,
you're like standing next to Michael Bay at a South by Southwest film premiere. You're like, that is such a cool experience. And then getting to also, yeah, meet people online. And this was similarly in Austin, like we'd never met before. And talking to you, I came home that night and I remember telling Christine at the Airbnb, I was like, yeah, I got to sit down with Marcio, and I looked at my watch, and an hour and a half had gone by, and I
yeah,
was like,
yeah.
that's the
Same,
first
same.
time that I've met someone where it felt like back in the day, in that sort of like early period when parkour felt so fresh. I felt like that happened a lot, where you'd meet somebody and you'd instantly, have
Yeah,
such a shared experience. And yeah, getting to chat with you was the first time that happened to me in a long time. It was really lovely to have that
yeah. I enjoyed it a
experience. And
lot as
then
well.
as soon as that happened, I'm like, oh, I really want to dive in on some conversation. Did you? Okay, my nerdy question for you now is: are you in any old GUP videos that people might not recognize you in? Like, are you in the background of any of the big GUP videos from that era?
I think not from that era, but I remember like what being in some of them, like in the GP, like in the Sergio's account, separate account, which was like more side
Yeah.
videos. Because also they did like a trip to Portugal and stuff. And I showed up like in some of the videos, but also I remember like one of them, like in the main account, like the Familia Galega to 2017 in Coruña. I remember being there.
Hmm.
Yeah, like I know I remember showing up on that video at least. Yeah, I remember I used to remember like all the videos, all like the songs that was were coming like after each other. I was like very nerdy. Yeah, it's very funny.
Yeah, my brain, I'm the same way. People will ask me questions. I still have a pretty solid memory on a lot of the golden age quote unquote parkour videos.
Yeah,
But back then, since then I've had to fill my brain with other things, like who my daughter's friends are at school and their names of their parents and stuff. So I started
yeah,
forgetting the soundtrack to every Ampesound video, unfortunately.
yeah,
But
yeah,
like the swim or sink era of GUP videos are just so good. And
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
you were saying in 2010 you started taking it a little bit more seriously. And I feel like I had kind of a similar experience. I had just graduated from high school and I remember having more time. And it was
Hmm.
kind of for like, it was the first time I could travel. I was 17, so I was able to kind of travel a little bit more and meet people. I met Phil that year, Oleg, a bunch of other athletes. And
Yeah,
I remember that experience, like getting to meet Phil in person. He showed up at Apex Denver, and I was in Colorado traveling, and I remember him in socks doing rail plyos on the high bar cage, and he'd just come off of like an international flight, got in a train, showed up, no warm up, and was doing like the craziest stuff. And I remember my brain just having this moment of I thought I was really good at parkour, because I was the best in my small friend group, and then
yeah,
getting to
yeah, yeah, yeah.
see that there was an entire world of progression
Yeah,
outside. Do you
yeah,
have
I know
any
what you mean.
memories of moments like that?
I do. I definitely do. Just so I don't forget, I was gonna like tell you a funny story now that we were talking about the GP guys and stuff. Like I remember, as you said, like that time was when I started traveling. I think I started like at 2012, like maybe 2011. I remember like one of my first trips just by myself. Like
Hmm.
I went to Vigo because it was close. So I remember like always asking my father like, please let me go, please let me go, and please let me go for a week or something. And he said like, no, you can only go like for 2 or 3 days. And then like at the last minute he just called me and he said like, oh, if you want to stay for a week you can stay. And I was so happy. But then like reality check just came in when I arrived in Vigo, and like most people were not like, because we were kids like in the end, and most of them were not talking that much because they were shy, or they had like they all already like their own close group. So I remember like being not like I was not like that confident back then, so I didn't know how to approach conversations and people and stuff. So I remember like always being in my own side like for the whole day. And after 2 or 3 days, I remember like telling the guy that was like giving me a place to stay that I had to go because my mom's birthday was the day after, and I really had to go and stuff. Like he asked me to stay, and I said like I couldn't, and I just went back home. And I was like, after I arrived, I was like, fuck, why, like, why didn't I stay and stuff, like. But obviously, with the years, like things changed. But yeah, it was very funny to think about it because I consider myself like a shy person, but I think obviously maturity and like confidence came in the last few years as well, and I'm more okay, like, and also know how to approach people and be more okay with like just trying to get conversations. Obviously, not forcing stuff. But yeah, when I was a kid, like I was completely
Mhm.
the opposite. I remember like being okay with my friends and totally open and funny and stuff, but then with other people I will just shut myself, and yeah, it was a weird situation back then, but yeah.
Parkour was a really good sport for antisocial boys. I think that this will be my political rant on the side. In America, at least, it's been really crazy to see how like the male loneliness epidemic in quotes for people who are not watching on the video is something that is real and people are talking about it more. And like I resonated very strongly with it, but it's funny because similarly to you, I would not talk to people unless there was a very strong reason to. And the great thing about parkour is that it gave me an excuse to just like put my head down, work on something for hours next to a person.
Hmm.
Didn't have to engage, but you're like slowly building that sense of community.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I feel like that's gone away a little bit as it's become more popular, which is good for a lot of people.
yeah,
But I
it's true.
definitely I have thought about how to recreate that space for all of the weird 14-year-old boys that have no
Hmm.
social skills so they can slowly
Yeah. Yeah,
learn to be friends with each other. Uh,
yeah, because that's that's
it's a hard
also.
challenge as a coach.
Yeah, that's also a thing as well. Like that's also what I noticed with kids. I mean, I don't know if in like in our generation we were different, but I think nowadays, like I think also the lack of communication between them, I think is also due to like social media and all that stuff, like mobile phones, etc. Because there's so much like on their phone that they don't try to communicate, and they think like communicating like online makes the thing. But it's like
Mhm.
obviously like we're communicating now because we don't have like an option to be physically communicating. It's like in most of their cases they can actually communicate in like with each others. And I think it's always better to talk with someone like in the eyes and like having the presence of the person than to just speak on like on something that doesn't feel that real. And they like I think nowadays people like replace that a lot, and that's what creates like lack of confidence and also like lack of communication between them. Like they don't know how to approach people and also how to talk, etc. And yeah, it's been I think it's
Yeah,
a really weird thing that we've been living in the last few years.
yeah, agreed. I feel really bad. I'm very grateful. I say this now. We'll see where we are in 10 years. I'm grateful that my
Yeah.
daughter, who's going to be 2 soon, isn't 12. I feel
Hmm.
like the kids who are teenagers now have it the worst probably of any generation because they were a little bit too early for people to realize how much of a problem. And we know the benefits of social media, right? Like our
Yeah.
friendship, my friendship with people like Callum, it's like I've seen firsthand how amazing it can be to use the internet as a tool to make real world connections. And I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
that's awesome. But now the next generation kind of saw how easy it is to skip the real world connection part and just
Yeah.
use it
That's the
as a
thing.
tool to, instead of forming connection, just consuming. It seems like there's a movement to at least improve it. And I think parkour is a really cool bridge for that because it does have it's such a digital community, but it is also so rooted in your body. Like you have to be going to physical spaces and engaging with the real world to really be participating in the sport, which is
Hmm.
so valuable right now, especially.
Yeah.
Did you have a year? So it's like 2010, 2011, we were just talking about.
Hmm.
I feel like for me, I started really seeing your content in 2017 or 2018,
Yeah.
and that's when it broke through my algorithm and I started seeing your stuff. Did you have a year where you feel like your progression or your training just got taken to the next level?
Yeah, I think I mean there's been a few years that I mark them as like the ones that I felt the most progress. But I think the main year like
Mm-hmm.
from the very recent time was like 2010 again. I think because as you started saying before, like when you started parkour and stuff, like because you felt that you were like the best in your town and stuff. Like I remember I was the opposite. Again, like I didn't have much confidence. I was very scared of heights. I was not like doing anything specifically, and like it took me like almost a year to learn how to Kong properly without going sideways. And I remember like some of my friends were like progressing a lot, and I remember like every time I saw like a nice jump, I would be like, "Oh, you could do this," or to the other friend like, "Oh, you could do that," like. And I never thought that I could be able to do it because I didn't felt that I had the capacities. And I'm again like when I started watching your videos, like GP videos and stuff, like I started to realize like, oh, I would like to reach this level, like because I started to put in my mind that if this person can, why can't I? And when I started feeling some progression and I understood like, okay, I can actually do this. I just need to work maybe harder than someone else. But like if that person can do it like with, I don't know, like 5 hours a day of training, maybe I can do it with 10, and it just goes to show that like
Mm-hmm.
we can always achieve what, or at least get close to achieve what we want if we put the work. And also because I was enjoying it, like I was truly enjoying it. I was not training parkour because I wanted to be the best or I wanted to do the crazy stuff. It's just because I wanted to push myself and like show to myself that I could be able to do more than I thought that I could. I think that motivation helped me, and I think 2010 was the year that I started breaking that and understanding that I could actually improve even more. And obviously, like throughout the years, I had 2012, 2014, 2017. I think 2017, 2018 was like when I started, like my mental started progressing even more. And yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it was like a roller coaster after of good things.
It was like a roller coaster to watch, except it only went up.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I felt
exactly,
like there was
exactly.
there was a 4 year period where every single it was like 2 or 3 times a week I would just open up Instagram and I'm like, oh, new
Yeah.
Marcio upload. Okay, I need to put everything down so that I can watch what
Thank you.
insane stick is about to happen right now. Do you have a
Yeah.
favorite stick or challenge that you've done where you just look at it and you're like, that feels like the perfect representation of what you love about parkour?
Good question again. I mean, it's not that I have one specifically, but I have a few. Yeah. I think like
Yeah, give me all of them, dude.
yeah, I think the ones like to be honest, I maybe the ones that I won like the Star Awards like in 2020 and 2021 probably were some of my favorites. It's like the one that I didn't stuck, but I still like now that I see it in another perspective, I'm super happy and proud. Is like the Concrete on IMAX when I tried to stick it for like the first time in 2019. Even though I didn't stuck it, like I did it 46
Hmm.
times apparently, and I had no idea how I could be able to do like 46 times. Um, because my legs were cooked. I remember like by the end
Yeah.
of it, like I had to stop because I arched and I was like arching quite a few times, and like it got to a point that it was getting really bruised and I couldn't keep doing it. And I asked them someone asked me like I think it was Bench that asked me how many times did I thought that I did it, and I was like I don't know, maybe like 20, 25. I think I did a lot, and I was like no, you did 46 times. I was like no, I did, and he showed me all the clips. I couldn't believe it. I was like so much in the zone because I remember like prepping myself and like going for that trip kind of specifically for that goal. I just had the goal like to do it for
Hmm.
myself, and it was really nice to see people like actually being able to come and like really being willing to come and support and watch the thing and be there. Like that made that day so special. Like it's still one of my favorite days till now. So
In that challenge, when you say you prepped for it, I'm curious, at the spot, did you do any preparation before you sent that jump? Or did you just really, because you were so dialed in on your Kong precisions, I remember that year, it made perfect sense when I saw you going to London. I think you'd posted something in your story or I'd seen it in
yeah,
Callum's story, and I'm like, oh, he's gonna go try and stick the
yeah,
classic big IMAX Kong pre. And it was just like, if anyone's going to do it right now, 100% it's Marcio. But
Thank you.
on that day, what was your process like going for that challenge?
Yeah, so it's like I think that year I progressed a lot, and also like there was a thing with myself. It was that I was like, uh, it's not I won't call it addicted, but I was pressuring myself quite a lot. I don't like in a good way, but also in a bad way because I wanted to get better and improve and stuff. So I remember like going, as I said, like to London with that goal, and I was doing a lot of concretes in my town and other places and stuff. Um, and because I did it the first time in 2017 when I went to watch the Rough Culture premiere, so I knew kind of how
Hmm.
it was. So I had one like one in my town where I started training parkour. That's like kind of similar in terms of distance, height in between walls and stuff. So I wanted like I've done that one before going to London, but I wanted to do it again and stick it like as comfortable as I could, so I could be more prepared to do the one in London.
Is
So
that
I
the one
remember,
that's on the like staircase?
yeah, that I did the speed step as well. Yeah. So
Okay.
basically, I did that one.
Yeah.
Also, that's also how I prepped the speed step as well. But yeah, I did that one. Like I stuck it like kind of comfortable, and I remember going to London and like in my head, I remember dreaming about it the night before, and also like rehearsing like in my head 2 hours or something the night before as well. Like just imagine myself in the air, like pushing the Kong, etc. And I think because I made it so much worse in my head than it was in reality, because as I said, like I did the first time in 2017, and back then was like out of my league kinda, and I did it somehow. But I remember like 2 years after, because I hadn't been in London like since 2 years. I thought it was still gonna be like
Hmm.
as scary as it was in 2017. So I pressured myself so much that when I actually arrived there, like it took me like 3 minutes or something to commit because I made it such like a way worse thing. I remember like warming up, etc., like doing normal stuff and doing like the smaller Kong, the one in the ramp. And then after like warming up and doing
Yeah.
that Kong, I remember like looking twice or three times to the other Kong and doing it straight away the first time. And I was like, okay, I know I can do this. And it was just, yeah, it was just like repetitions after repetitions at that point.
You had you were like Rock Lee dropping the weights in the
Yeah,
the Gara
yeah,
fight. You were just
yeah,
mentally you had put so much weight on yourself. You're like, bro, we're just gonna drop it.
yeah, yeah. By the way, Naruto is like the best anime for sure, for sure. People should watch that as well as inspiration.
Yeah, I was gonna say your 2010 mindset of if somebody can train for 5 hours to get here, I'll train for 10. I was like, what shonen anime inspired that mindset?
Yeah,
But
I think
we
I
have
think
our
I
answer
think
now.
I think it was Naruto for sure because when I was young, but as well, like when I started improving was throughout the time that I was growing up watching Naruto, and it's still like my favorite anime till today. I think I showed you before. Also, I have a Naruto tattoo as well. So yeah, I'm a very big geek as well. But I mean, it worked, so I can't
Yes.
complain. I can't complain.
It's taken you a long way for sure. Well, what so I'll tell you also, I'll just throw this out there. I think my favorite stick, I don't know where, if it's in Lisbon, the running pre that you did to that like tower structure that Pedro Salgado
Ah,
did
yeah,
for,
yeah,
he
yeah,
did it with the overshoot.
yeah,
Like that shot to me is just like one of my all-time favorite parkour clips because it's so like you could literally only get across that gap by doing this jump.
yeah,
There's
yeah.
no other
No
thing
way
that you
out.
could do there except the running pre. You kind of have to stick it exact. It's just, and then like the sun is setting. It's beautiful seaside.
Yeah, yeah,
That is like to me always in the back of my head as one of my all-time favorite parkour clips, and also how you hand like it is one of the most perfect running pre sticks. Just your position, like you made it look like you were sitting down on the couch to watch TV. Like it looked so comfortable how easily you stuck that one.
yeah. Thank you. Yeah,
That's an
that's true. I
all-time
mean,
clip for me.
yeah, in terms of like atmosphere, obviously the jump is like very captivating, but also as you said, like the sun setting, like the setup, everything, like the kind of tower. By the way, that's in Azores Island.
Hmm.
So I was like, that's also a funny thing as well. Like I remember going
Oh wow.
with a friend of mine and like my ex-girlfriend and stuff. Like I remember going there like as like a trip, just like a chill trip, and I wasn't planning on training because I didn't even knew that there were spots there. And one day, like we just went to a restaurant, and I just saw like the tower, and I was like, I think that's where Pedro did the jump. And I looked at it, and I got like, what the fuck? This is here. I had no idea. I thought it was in Lisbon. So I went there, like I was almost midnight because we were coming out from the restaurant, and I started cleaning the tower, and I was like, obviously I'm not gonna do it now. It's just get the feeling how it would be like to just land here. And then like the day after, I told them like I would like to do it, but I was not like, again, I was not there for training, and I wasn't expecting to train. Also because like in the island, it just you get like the four stations in the same day, like spring, winter, autumn, summer. So it just rains and then it stops, and like the sky opens up and stuff. And the day after, like I remember it was raining a lot, and we would just went like just walking around and stuff. And then at the end of the day, we were not doing anything, and then like things started drying up, and they asked me like if I wanted to go and check the jump, and I said like, yeah, if that's fine for you guys, but I don't want to feel the pressure, or I don't want to feel that you guys are stopped to doing your stuff to watch me. And they were like, no, it's fine, we're not doing anything, so we can go there. And then I remember going there like without any expectation. I started warming up, test prepping and stuff, and then like I just felt that I could do it, and I felt prepared to. And it was actually like I actually did it. And I remember like it started getting dark, so I was like, this is gonna be the literally the last one because otherwise it's gonna get too dangerous, and I won't be able to check the landing like in the air. And on the very last one, I
Yeah.
actually stuck it, and that was like the best feeling ever. That was the best feeling ever.
Yeah, that is just that's even better knowing that context because I always
Yeah,
assumed it
yeah,
was in Lisbon as well. That's hilarious.
yeah.
You just like stumbled across it. And sometimes those challenges, you know, you were saying that you went into it with no expectation, and it's cool to hear that because that's almost the exact opposite of the London story that you just told, where you had built up all this expectation and done all of this preparation, and you're at the most iconic parkour spot in the world.
Mm.
And what do you feel like are the strengths and weaknesses for you of like, do you have a preference now? Or do you feel like there's maybe one is healthier than the other? Or what are your thoughts on that? Just like going into a challenge with all that preparation and expectation versus
hmm
being able to kind of surprise yourself.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to answer that because like I haven't been training properly like for the last 2.5 years, so I kind of lost that way of process, and also like how I would be approaching challenges nowadays. Um, but I don't know. I remember like before falling, I was just tried not to overthink things because that's also something about me that I was always overthinking stuff like in my life in general. And I think that parkour was completely the opposite. Like I just trust on my technique, and I will be like,
Mm,
okay, this can happen, but what can I do to not happen? Like because I think people sometimes focus a lot on what it can happen, but this can happen related to the fact that you're
mhm,
not making the most that you can do to not happen. So I will always be that will always be my priority, and I obviously will think about a plan B or something. But because I was so confident on what I was doing and my skills and stuff, I will be like, okay, I know I can do the plan B, and if I can't, will always have a plan B, plan A, and I will always have a plan B. Sorry. Um, and I think that's the way I was approaching stuff, not overthinking too much, and thinking about everything that I needed to think. But that's what I also tell some of my friends is like thinking 10 minutes about a challenge and thinking an hour, it's gonna be the same thing, like because what you need to process, you will process in the first few minutes. Being there for an hour is just gonna like being in a loop and being overthinking about stuff, and that's not gonna be helpful, and that's not gonna happen. But obviously, like we're gonna have fears and stuff. But I think it's also the way out we can control them, and also how we can process to like rationalize them in a way that we know that we can do it, and we know what we need to do to make it happen. And that's also one of the things that I learned about through these years, and what I'm most proud about. I think more than the jumps is the mentality of like just being rational about stuff, because the risk will always be there.
mhm.
Like it doesn't matter if I wait like an hour. One thing is not being physically and like technically prepared, but the other thing is like being there for an hour or 2 hours. It's not going to change the fact that the risk will always be there. As long as you're cautious and you know what you're doing, like things will always happen, no matter like the time that you take to process them. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a moment where I would, in my own head, when I was doing more things that were a bit more consequential, I almost would like think of it as I have to make myself a little dumber for a
Yeah,
minute.
yeah,
Like you have to kind of calm all of those thoughts down and
yeah,
just like
yeah,
glaze over that part of your brain so, so
yeah. But
that
it's
you
true. It's true.
have that sort of like smooth yeah, because you can always, and that's kind of what we were talking about earlier when I was saying that as you're dealing with consequence and risk to execute something that's highly technical,
Hmm.
you have to embrace the consequence and then forget about it. And
Yeah,
I remember Dante Grazioli, who's a parkour athlete here.
yeah. I know, I
We
know.
were looking at this challenge, and I was scared of it. And he had just done it, and he told me something along the lines of like, you like why are you even looking at the gap? Why are you thinking about the drop? You
Yeah,
already know it's there, and you're not going to fall. So it doesn't matter. Like the drop only matters if you fall. And the more you think about the drop, the more you're thinking about like training your body to do the wrong thing. He's like, just
yeah,
forget that
yeah.
it's there. It won't matter if you execute. And I
Hmm. Hmm.
was never able to get to the level that I think he and people like Dylan Baker, yourself, maybe were able to get to, where I really like it didn't actually matter to them
Yeah.
at all. But I definitely remember having some tricks where I would just kind of have to, yeah, glaze that part of my brain over. Did you ever think like find anything that worked for you? Because hearing you talk about it, it's nice. Some people, when I talk to them, Dom being a great example, he's just kind of like, you just got to send it.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah, yeah. They don't
I
like.
don't
They
think
don't.
that our personalities are quite
Yeah, yeah.
similar.
I
Like
think. I
he
think
has a
it's also like.
process, but it doesn't always translate for me.
Yeah, I think it's also like the fact that some people don't try to deconstruct their thoughts, like as a puzzle. And I think that's very important as well. Like that's also what helped
Mm,
me, I think, because as I said, like I overthink a lot, and maybe that's in a way that's also what helped me a bit, because I started to understand stuff and also like how to approach things and also like how to get through the maze inside my head to make the shortest way possible to the exit in terms of like not being the exit but being like the achievement in this case. And I think that's also the way I approach stuff,
hmm
because as you said, like about Dante story is very funny because I kind of think in a very similar way. It's like when people think about a lot about like the drop and stuff, I always tell people like, but you're not going to land in a drop, you're laying on the other side, so you like focus on the landing, because like if you focus on the landing and you don't even think that the fall is over here, obviously you need to be cautious that it is, because if you fall there's no like second chance as like in the ground level, for example. But if you
hmm
focus like on the landing, like it doesn't matter like how high it is, and obviously again, like if you train a lot on ground level and you know 110% what you're doing, and if you never miss, like it's like sounds cliche, but if you don't miss like 100 times on the floor, why you should fall like on height on something a bit similar, because you never like explore the full potential on height. That never happens. Obviously you can be close to it, but you will never like
hmm
go fully like, I don't know, like physical limits like on heights. That doesn't happen. So if you can like, if you
Unless you're
don't meet
doing that
that,
cork pre like that guy
I,
did.
yeah, I was saying this and that was the exact same like movement that I was thinking in my head right now. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, despite that one, but like overall, like we don't do that.
Most of
So
us never. Yeah.
yeah, exactly, exactly, exactly. But
Yeah.
obviously, like I can't say this because also like in my example I failed, but I know the reason why I did, why I actually messed up. Because I think if I was like in a very like training day, like or like in the mood, or like I don't know, like just there, like mentally there, I'll probably not even do the jump. But yeah, again, like
hmm
things just happen, like, and also that's one of the things that I tell people. And also like again, coming back to the story that you were saying before, like about the Q&As and stuff, and also like sharing my story and also like my recovery and also everything I've been going through in this journey is, I think, since the moment that I fell, I think, not saying this with ego obviously, but I knew that was like I was kind of giving an example like as an athlete before. And I think after my fall, I just had like a bigger responsibility to even like try to give a bigger example, because I think examples should always be given like when you're at your worst point, because when you're at your best, you can always say like, oh, I could do
Mm.
this and I could do that. But like when reality hits, and also when you go to your lowest point, that's when you show your true character and also like your mindset and also how willing and passionate you are about something. And I thought that was like my main motivation was just like not only to show others, but to show to myself that I can do this again. You know, I can come back as like as long as I don't give up, and also no matter how long it will take. Yeah, I think that's also what kept me going and still keeps me going. It's just the fact that I need to give up an example to others, but mostly to myself. That's like if you don't give up, things will come up. You know, like and you'll be proud that you didn't lost the spark to keep going. So
Yeah. No, that's I mean, I think that's been really powerful and it's come through in everything that you've been doing. And I do want to touch on something that I think has been to me the most powerful, which is what you just said is a really inspiring message. I also really appreciate that you haven't tried to make every day seem great. I think you've
yeah,
been
yeah,
really open that, you've had sessions and you go out and you're like, honestly, this isn't what I want out of parkour. Like this
yeah, yeah.
sucks. And I can only imagine that feeling. I think we talked about this a bit in Austin. Like it's something that everybody has to go through at some point that, whether it's aging or an injury, coming to
Yeah,
grips with like how your body changes in time.
yeah.
And in that respect, I think it's universal and really powerful. But where are you at right now with expectation and the highs and lows of this journey? Because I do appreciate that
Hmm.
you haven't just been like Naruto or Asta from Black
Yeah,
Clover, like I just am
yeah,
gonna
yeah,
push through it. You've
yeah,
been
yeah,
really open that some days kind of suck.
yeah, yeah. That's the thing is like, um, yeah, even like, yeah. By the way, I forgot about saying this also because you mentioned now about the bad days and stuff. I've been working like on a own documentary with a guy about my recovery, which I've been working from pretty much all like the very beginning of my injury. We actually haven't been filming the last year, like literally like a full year without filming, because my head was not there. Like I was going through some personal stuff as well, despite like this thing obviously, and life hasn't been easy the last year, but now it's fine. Things are getting better. Um, so I just like I didn't focus on that. I just focused on myself first, and we're still gonna try to shoot as much as we can. Also because it's not making much sense to film now because there's not I mean, lately I've been training a bit more and progressing a bit more, but it's like despite that, nothing had been sh making sense to actually film and document, because otherwise it will be the same things again, like gym, physio, etc. Um, so we'll see how this will
Mm-hmm.
go. But yeah, I've been working on that. But yeah, answering your question, I think even before my fall, I was not like I think since the speed step on IMAX, I didn't got much expectations on anything. I felt like in a very peaceful thing of like I this is the only main goal that I have for myself now, and like obviously if I can still push myself, the better. And like if something that shows up that captivates me, I'll try and do it and etc. But I don't have the willing to keep pursuing big stuff anymore. Obviously, that's not the only thing that I do. I enjoy like doing small stuff, and that's also what helps me to actually being able to do the big stuff. But I was not trying to pursue myself as like pushing myself even more mentally or anything like that. I was just more in peace. So I think even like if it wasn't by the accident, I'll probably just be like just enjoying parkour as I was in the first years, like just like moving and whatever comes comes. And that's still my mindset. I want to come back to parkour, not to push myself in the same way that I was pushing before. Maybe that could happen. I don't know. But that's not my goal. My goal is just like to move without pain and like just enjoy parkour as I've been doing like for the last 18 years. That's my main thing.
That's beautiful. And I feel like that is a really fantastic place to end it. One last question that I try and always ask people, except for when I forget. If you had to recommend a piece of media, so a book, a podcast, a film, to the audience, do you have anything that you would recommend?
Good one. Um, yeah, I mean, I haven't been
Other
like to
than
be
the
honest.
GUP YouTube
Yeah,
collection.
Yeah, I think those ones are like the main ones for sure. I don't know. I think everything that helps you like um improve yourself, because I think parkour helps you a lot, like as a tool for your personal life, but also like the personal life will help you for your parkour sessions as well. Like it's just a mindset, like, overall the mindset that you will have for the sport, you will have for other things in life, because that's how what teaches you the most is the values, and also like showing yourself that you can do way more than you think that you can. So I don't know, like I will always recommend like self-development stuff, like podcasts, books. I don't know. I actually read David Goggins, which people sometimes criticize, but I actually enjoyed this story because obviously sometimes you can try and be like a character, but I totally understand like that the life that he had, like he made him the person that he is, and it's like it makes total sense the actions that he does sometimes have. But I think that like it's a very big inspiration just to show people that's like what you put, like if you put something on your head and if you pursue it, no matter what people say, like and what people will judge, um I think you can achieve great things, like, or even if you don't, like you can get close to them more than most people can say because they never maybe try. So yeah, I think that book like was really good. I haven't read that many, so I can't say much. But I think that like I don't know, like self-development podcast is hearing other people perspectives and surround yourself with good people, like people that pushes you to be better. Um, Overall, I think that's the greatest thing
Yeah.
ever. So
And maybe watch Naruto Shippuden
yeah, definitely, and the classic as well. Both.
in the classic. That's in for a long haul. Marcio Felipe, thank you so much for coming on. That's been
Thank
a
you,
really
thank you.
amazing conversation. I
Yeah,
appreciate it.
same.
This conversation was such a joy to have for me. I really have always wanted to talk to Marcio. And then, as I said in the podcast, we hit it off in Austin for the couple of hours that we just got to sit down and chat. And yeah, this was a great time to just reconnect and hear his story, particularly how he got there. And I think for me, he popped onto the scene and all of a sudden was doing some of the craziest things in the game. And it was really exciting to hear, that a lot of the same videos and same athletes inspired him, that inspired me, and just to see where he took his practice and where he's still taking his practice. So stay tuned on here. Marcio has got another surgery coming up, as he had mentioned on here, and I'm really excited to see how his recovery goes. The fact that, he is still in it and just working through this recovery after 2.5 years, knowing that he's still not at 100%, but seeing that improvement is really, really inspiring. And I don't think I would have the mental fortitude to look back at my decision making process with the clarity that he has, and also the openness. And as I said on the podcast, I think it's so helpful for the community to see somebody have a situation like this happen, and then for them to be so transparent about how much it sucks sometimes and how hard it is to stay motivated to recover. But for him, it's been worth it, and it's been really inspiring to hear that story. And I hope that you've been as inspired as I have been. Thank you, as always, for tuning in. Very excited to talk to you next week. Sorry again for the delay, but I think for this episode, it was worth it. I'll see you soon.